When you think about in the context of what we're just talking about, can you, from a vibrational standpoint, talk about the word responsibility? Because that's a conflicting word for me when I think about doing what I want to do sometimes. I just would like to hear you talk about responsibility.
Let's look more to its roots. Let's start with the idea of response. Response first. And then let's talk about the law of attraction. And then let's talk about connection and how in sync you are with your inner being. We've been talking about, so you decide to meditate and you quiet your mind. And if you quiet your mind, you stop thought. And if you stop thought, you stop resistant thought. And if you stop resistant thought, your vibration rises. And when your vibration rises, now you're in sync with source energy and your inner being. And now things will begin occurring to you. Thoughts will occur to you. Impulses will come to you.
So is it responsible to do that, or is it responsible to not just do
Wait
it?
just one second. You're being responsive to your vibration. So rather than responsibility, for just a little bit, we want to talk about what I'm responsive to. And what I'm responsive to in my human form is the vibration that I'm most matched to. If I've practiced my alignment with my inner being, then I'm most responsive to what my inner being knows. If I've been watching television and complaining about this and that and this and that, or if I'm in the middle of an uncomfortable relationship at work or at home or whatever, then that might be what's active in me, and I'm responsive to that. Our friend was talking about his father, who's responsive to all kinds of things because of the thoughts he's been thinking and the life he's been living. So now you want to take that responsiveness, which we want to call a law of attraction thing, and you want to make yourself responsible. So if you're going to be responsible, then you've got to be responsible to how you've tended to your vibration. We would call it your responsibility to feel good. You really owe it to yourself to feel good, because when you feel good, then good things come to you, and when you feel mad, they don't. And if you want to call it responsibility, that's just fine. But the reason it's tripping you up is because there are so many people around you who have not actively known about the law of attraction. They've not been thinking about inner being. They will say things like, let your conscience be your guide, or they will say things like, follow your gut instinct and things like that. People have been dabbling in this. All kinds of people have had connection and inspiration, and they get that. This is not the first conversation about any of this, but most people are living life by default, and most people are just responding to what they're giving their attention to. And so then there are those who decide they're going to lead someone, lead a child, or even lead a mate, or lead a group of people who are working for you, or lead a team. And their attitude about leadership often is by pointing out to you the things that will go wrong if you don't do this, and if you don't do this. If you don't do this, you're going to get fired, and if you don't do this, you're not going to amount to anything, and if you don't do this. And so most people have been pushing hard against what they don't want, and then disallowing what they do want. And so their idea of what comes to them is all disturbed. It's all distorted, because even in religion, they will say to you, if you keep these rules and you do these things and you don't do these things, then you will be rewarded. And then logical people keep those rules and don't feel all that rewarded. And then they see others around them not keeping the rules who seem to be thriving. And they say, what's going on? And then people say to them, oh, well, you can't tell while you're still here on earth. The reward comes after you die. And we are here to tell you, your guidance system is giving it to you now. What's happening in non-physical is what's happening here. When you don't feel good, you've pinched yourself off from it, and there isn't a reward. Your rewards are happening here. It's what alignment is. It's the emotion that you feel in any moment is what you're reaching for, you see. So getting back to the point that you were sort of kind of making, is that people who want something from you will convince you that there's this set of rules that you need to follow. And rarely does that set of rules include, do your best to feel good as much as you can. Usually the rule is, I'm going to need your sacrifice and your commitment, and I'm going to need you to do these things, and you need to put this first no matter what.
I don't think it's other people doing it to me. I think it's me doing it to myself.
Well, we think so too at this point, but we don't think you learned it from nobody.
Yeah, that's a good point. But I'm the one doing it, just to be clear.
But it's such a wonderful thing when you now know that. If you just leave here with this one understanding. We like that word, understanding. What's standing under? What's the basis beneath what you know? So if you just leave here with this one understanding, that your inner being is you, and your inner being is the non-diluted, non-resistant version of you, and that your inner being is even what you want to call future because it hasn't manifested yet, but we want to call presence because it is a vibrational reality version of you, and that your inner being has a point of attraction, and so do you, and that your emotions equal that resonance or lack of it, that harmony or discord, that allowance or disallowance. And so when you feel negative emotion, Esther stops often, and when she's feeling some negative emotion about something, and she acknowledges, you guys don't feel this way about that, do you? And I know why. Thanks for reminding me. Her emotions remind her all day, every day. That's what they're for. It's guidance.
I said to my wife, sometimes I let it get so bad it feels like mental illness, but I came up with a new word for it. I called it mental willness because of the stuff I'm sometimes willing to put up with. And that moment where you just stopped it is really important.
And if you don't stop it, it's all right. It'll get bigger, but then something will distract you, because at this point in what you've got going on, once you know these things, once you acknowledge that you are an extension of source energy, do you know that? And once you acknowledge that that source energy part of you is vividly aware and active in your life experience, do you know that? And once you understand that the things that you've asked for, your inner being is aware of and is attracting on your behalf, do you know that? Is attracting on your behalf. Then there's only one question to ask yourself. Am I a cooperative component right now? And if you got negative emotion going on, the answer is no, not right now. It doesn't mean no, not ever. No, not right now. Not while I feel like this. And if you're frisky and feeling full of fun and you're loving life, then you're letting it in, you're letting it in, and you're letting it in. And before you know it, you start really noticing the difference. You can feel when you're in the flow and when you're not. And the most important thing that your inner beings want us to convey to you is that when you're not in the flow, it's okay. Because your negative emotion about yourself could only exist because your inner being isn't having any negative emotion about you. If your inner being were as mad at you as you are, you wouldn't feel mad. Doesn't that make sense? It's the fact that your inner being knows that all is well and you don't that makes you feel bad. It's that your inner being knows that you are wonderful and you don't that makes you feel bad. Sort of makes you appreciate that discord, doesn't it? Ooh, my inner being must really love me because I'm feeling real bad right now.
How does Source feel about budgets? I've never done budgets. I've always thought, who needs a budget? I'll just make more money. But sometimes when that's not going so good.
We touched on this earlier. So there's the subject, like budget, and then there's the emotion around it. And so am I under the influence of Source, or am I under the influence of something else? So a budget sort of smacks of limitation. It also smacks of responsibility. It also smacks of shortage consciousness, but it doesn't have to. Let's go back to the conversation about make a decision and line up with it. If you have a belief that you want to be fiscally responsible and it feels like you're getting out of balance, and so you feel discord about it, you have to do something to allow that discord to go away. Now, some would say, just don't think about it anymore. Just spend as you want to and don't think about it. But the thing is, it's going to keep coming back and coming back and coming back. So you've got to find some way of lining up with it. So if you say to yourself, resources are unlimited, and there's a lot in my vortex, and I'm on the brink of so much coming in, and I'm really not worried about this, and you're really not. So it feels good to you to make this purchase or this decision about something. Then you're in alignment, and that money will come. The money will follow your emotion. It will. But if you feel guarded and protective and worried about it, and so the rule of thumb that we would follow if we were standing in your physical shoes is, if you can bring yourself into vibrational alignment through thoughts, then do it. If you can't bring yourself into alignment through thoughts, then don't. It's usually better. Your budget is two things. Your budget is what you're letting in and what's flowing out. So there are two ways to balance your budget: bring more in or let less flow out. We're not big proponents of restricting yourself, because when you restrict yourself, you tighten up, you get into that shortage consciousness, and then while you may be controlling your budget by not spending more, you also stifle what's coming in with that feeling. So we would rather you let it flow out, knowing that it's coming in, that you stifle what's coming in by letting nothing flow out. Does that
How
make
much
sense?
can you let flow out?
There are no-
I mean, it's a real question. Like, when you own a business and you have a family and you want to go and have fun, and
You have to find your own balance, but there really are no limits to that. One day we were visiting with a woman, and she was upset because her now husband had been married before. And so his income was going to two families, their current family and his previous family. And she complained every time he makes more money, she goes to the court and petitions for a larger share. And so it feels to him like he can never get ahead. What do you suggest? And we said, we wish he had 10 ex-wives. She was shocked. What? We said, well, we understand how money flows. His first family is calling money through him, and your family is calling money through him. And so if there were 10 families calling money through him, there'd be 10 times the money flowing through him, and you're only giving half of it away.
yeah. Is it?
Did you get that? But you see, most people don't understand. You were talking about, do you need to limit what goes out? And we're saying there's no limit to what's coming in. And so often what you're letting in is limited by what you think you can let out.
So as long as you feel good about whatever you're spending it on,
That's
then
the
you.
key. That's the
So
key.
you should have the knowing that more will come as long as you feel good about what went out.
Yes, that's well said, and it's accurate. Also, you could do this in a pre-paving way or a getting out ahead of it way by acknowledging how prosperous you feel, by feeling your prosperity even before you have the justification for it by your bank balance. As you feel your prosperity, it's our promise to you that there will be all kinds of ways that it will come into your experience, and you might feel better if it comes before you spend it. But we have to say to you, the biggest and the most productive of financial organizations in your world have huge debt. Mm-hmm. Because there's no such thing as money. It's only energy anyway. It's energy. But you've got to decide, how are you doing with the energy? How are you doing with it? We would be, rather than so fiscally responsible, would be emotionally responsible. How you doing? I feel great. How much money you got? Irrelevant. It'll work out for you if you really hear this. It's energy, it's energy, it's energy, and it's boundless. The energy expands to match the desires. Humans think in a very finite way instead of an infinite way. They think there's this pie and it's this big, and that if I get this much of it and you get this much of it, pretty soon the pie will be all done. And if you take a lot, then you're depriving a whole bunch of others. They don't understand that the pie expands to equal the desire of those summoning. So collectively, you have created an unspeakable, abundant pie. And then you complain when just a few get what feels like way more than their fair share, because they're used to getting it. They're in a place of expecting it to come. It's easy for you to expect something and then those that are complaining about somebody else getting too much of the pie hold themselves in deprivation, where no matter how big the pie gets, they're never going to get any. because they're so mad at those who are getting it.